Ever notice how some tech products arrive with like a huge wave of hype?
Hmm.
They promise to be like the next big thing, but then they just sort of vanish?
Oh, yeah, totally. Like a flash in the pan.
Exactly. And for today's deep dive, we're going way back to 2016, the year Snapchat spectacles first dropped.
Oh, yeah, those things. I remember those.
Right. Those smart sunglasses with like the circular camera lenses on the sides. They were designed to give you, the user, that first-person perspective on the world, ready to share instantly, like right to Snapchat.
Yep. And the marketing was wild. Remember those Snapbot vending machines
Yeah.
popping up in random places, all bright yellow?
Totally. It was all about creating buzz, right? This feeling
Yeah.
of exclusivity. Like if you weren't there, you missed out.
Big time FOMO.
Exactly.
Hmm.
But the question we're exploring today is, why didn't they catch on? We've got a bunch of information to dig into, and what's interesting is there's so many angles to this story.
So many layers to peel back.
It wasn't just one thing, was it? What jumps out at you from what we've been looking at?
Well, one thing that really pops is that Snap, the company behind spectacles, they really misjudged how many people actually wanted these.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Overestimating demand. And we're not just talking about a small miscalculation here. There are reports of a $40 million loss from unsold inventory. That's a lot of glasses.
Oh, yeah.
I-
It paints a picture of just how off they were.
Big time.
And it's tied to that initial hype, the whole Snapbot thing. They
Yeah.
might have mistaken that manufactured desire for, like, real long-term demand.
I see what you mean.
The thinking seems to have been, well, everyone's on Snapchat, so of course they'll want these glasses to go with it. But just because you enjoy an app doesn't mean you'll buy a gadget to go with it.
It's an assumption that doesn't always hold true.
Right. For most people, the glasses were probably just a novelty, not something they needed.
Okay, so that leads us to the next point, the
Yeah.
whole functionality, usability aspect. Because let's be honest, most people already have pretty decent camera in their pocket, their smartphone.
Absolutely, and that's a key point here. Spectacles, they didn't really offer anything dramatically better than your phone camera. And they were so focused on Snapchat, if you weren't a super user, they just weren't that useful.
So they weren't very versatile.
Not really. And even if you were big on Snapchat, getting those videos onto your phone, well, it wasn't always smooth sailing. It could be clunky, multiple steps, frustration.
You'd expect something like this to be super streamlined, wouldn't you? Like the whole point of smart tech is to make things easier.
Exactly. But if recording and sharing, the core functions, felt clunky, well, people might just stick with their phones. And then you throw in that very visible camera lens on the glasses.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Privacy concerns, I'm sure a lot of people had reservations about that.
Absolutely. If you think about it, smartphones, even though they can record, it's usually a deliberate action, right? You hold it up, it's pretty obvious what you're
Right.
doing. Spectacles, on the other hand, they made recording discreet. Just a tap and you're rolling.
And not everyone around you knows that.
Exactly. So imagine you're just going about your day and someone could be recording you without your knowledge. Not a great feeling.
Some of the info we've got mentions public places banning or discouraging spectacles because of these concerns. It shows you just how real those anxieties were.
For sure. And all this was happening while awareness around privacy was, really growing.
Right. And then there's a factor that often gets overlooked with wearable tech fashion and social acceptance. You could have the most high-tech gadget in the world, but if people don't feel good wearing it, it's not going to work.
Totally. It's got to look good, right? If you feel self-conscious every time you put it on, what's the point?
Totally. One description we saw called the spectacles design bold and playful, which, okay, maybe for some people,
No.
but it's definitely not for everyone.
Right. And even though they had different colors, the core design was still very noticeable. You stood out.
It wasn't exactly blending in with the crowd.
Nope. Unlike regular sunglasses, spectacles, they made a statement. And not always a good one. People felt awkward, hesitant to wear them.
It's tough, right? Finding that sweet spot where tech meets fashion.
Oh yeah, it's a balancing act for sure. And even if you're willing to embrace the awkwardness, getting your hands on a pair initially, well, that was another story.
That's right. Let's talk marketing and distribution. The Snapbots, they generated buzz, but was it a sustainable strategy?
That initial exclusivity, it definitely got people talking, but it also made them hard to get. And by the time they were available online, the hype had died down.
They missed the wave.
Kind of. And it seems like there wasn't a strong plan to keep that momentum going. One source even mentioned a lack of a long-term marketing strategy, no real education on the product's benefits.
So it was all about the initial splash, not the long game.
Right, and without a clear target audience beyond, like, General Snapchat users, well, it's tough to build lasting demand.
So, looking at all this, the overestimated production, the limited usability, the privacy worries, the fashion hiccups, the marketing missteps, what are the big takeaways here? What can other companies learn from spectacles, especially if they're thinking of launching their own hardware?
Oh, tons of lessons.
Yeah, like what?
First off, and it seems obvious now, but make sure there's actually a demand for what you're building. Don't just assume, do your research.
Yeah.
Really figure out if people need this thing.
Don't put the cart before the horse.
Exactly. Popularity in one area doesn't guarantee success in another. Then there's usability. Any new tech has to be intuitive, easy to use. It should offer something that your current devices don't. Make life simpler, not more complex.
Keep it streamlined.
And don't forget about privacy. Address those concerns head on. Think about the design. Be transparent about how it works, what data it's collecting. Think about potential misuse.
Be upfront and responsible.
And of course, aesthetics. Wearable tech has to look good if people are going to wear it. It should be something people want to be seen in. More subtle designs, universally appealing, that can make a big difference.
Make it something people actually want to wear.
And finally, marketing. You need a solid plan, not just for launch, but for the long haul. Balance hype with accessibility. Keep people informed, engaged.
So after all this, what happened with Snap? Did they give up on hardware entirely?
Not quite. They did release newer versions of spectacles with upgrades like water resistance, better video quality.
So they tried to improve.
They did, but those updates didn't really lead to huge growth.
The initial vision just wasn't resonating.
Yeah, seems like it. And they've since shifted focus to AR, augmented reality. The latest spectacles are all about AR, aimed at developers, creators.
Interesting. So a more niche market.
Yeah, it's like they're building up the tech, the creative possibilities before trying another big consumer launch.
That makes sense. Lay the groundwork first. And just to highlight how big the gap was between the hype and reality, we've got a stat here.
Oh yeah, this one's pretty telling.
Less than 1/10 of 1%, 0.08% of Snapchat users bought spectacles. It really puts that whole overestimating demand thing into perspective.
Wow, that's tiny.
So the takeaway here is it wasn't just one mistake that led to spectacles' downfall. It was a whole bunch of things. Overestimating demand, usability issues, privacy concerns, fashion fails, marketing mishaps. It all adds up.
It does, and it's a cautionary tale for any company venturing into hardware. You gotta understand user needs, market dynamics, it's crucial.
Know your audience, know your market.
Absolutely. So, considering all this and how fast tech's moving, what do you think are the biggest challenges for wearable tech going forward? How can they avoid the spectacles trap?
That's a good question. Like, what are the hurdles that still need to be cleared?
I think that balance between functionality and fashion is still a big one. How do you make tech stylish, something people want to wear all the time? And then there's privacy. As these devices get more integrated into our lives, collect more data, that conversation becomes even more important.
Privacy's only going to get bigger.
And finally, there's the why. Why should people buy this? What problem does it solve that our current devices don't? Until those questions are answered, I think we'll see cool experiments, but mainstream success might be elusive.
Makes you think. There's still a lot to figure out.
For sure.
Well, hopefully this deep dive gave everyone a better understanding of just how complex it is to launch a tech product. Even with all the hype in the world, success isn't guaranteed.
Nope. And spectacles is a perfect example of that. Lots of lessons to learn.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.
See you then.